Okay, so how many of you, by show of hands, are content creators in the room? Amazing. Okay, so this is my room, and I'm excited to be with you guys because I'm like you, and I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey over the last, 15 years since I've been doing this, and so let's dive into it. And I also have kind of the way I am doing this is shortcuts. I don't know if you guys ever walk in public and you see these paths. These are like really fascinating to me because this is a public place that a city took time to build the real pavement, but yet everyone finds the real shortcuts that you actually want to walk. And there are shortcuts in content creating that I wish I knew 15 years ago. So I kind of put this together with that approach of like if I'm in your guys' shoes, and I don't know where you guys are in the journey of creating, whether you're a crypto mom, awesome, or you're just starting or you're really advanced. But I'm just going to share from what I've been doing in my story. You guys may remember these Blockbusters, the stores where you go and rent a movie on Friday night with your family. That's what my family did, and we'd go get these VHS tapes. And my parents picked up one of these. We rented Jurassic Park. I was 3 years old, and I can prove it because I found this video my dad shot and here I am right there with my sisters watching Jurassic Park. I don't know why they showed it to me at age 3, but it left a lasting impact because that was the day I realized I didn't know what filmmaking technically was, that it could be a job, but I figured out like that was a thing that people did and that wasn't a real dinosaur, and so I wanted to do that and figure that out. And I love my parents. That was one of the best videos they ever took of me, and then same with this photo. It's one of the few videos and photos I have of my childhood because sadly my parents didn't take a lot of capturing. They didn't have cell phones like we do today of our kids. So that's why I recreated my life in AI to tell you my life story. So this is me as a young little baby made with ChatGPT. I was a really cute baby. And I was a homeschooler. I lived on a farm in Portland, Oregon. And so this is me, a nice little homeschool kid. Let's actually just change, let's take out homeschooled. Maybe that'll be better. Okay, that's me, a little more normal kid in Oregon. Grew up on an orchard, and I really dreamed of making movies since, I showed you that clip of when I saw Jurassic Park, I was like, I have to figure out how to do that. And so that caused a little problem, and I was sad because I had no money to buy film gear. I couldn't just save up for $5,000 camera. It was kind of ridiculous pricing back then. So I did what every entrepreneurial kid did. When you need something really bad, you just go out and work the farm. So I rode the lawnmower at all my neighbors' fields. Luckily, I lived in Oregon, which is tons of fields. So I mowed lots of lawns. I borrowed friends' cameras, and I went out and shot a bunch of weddings. And eventually, I saved up for the camera. That was my dream camera, the Canon XL2, which was like $5,000. And then I was off, happy making movies with my 3 sisters. I don't know why they're not happy here. Let's just make that happy. Okay, we were happy making movies, and they were stoked to be my film crew and do whatever I needed for my shots. And eventually, when I got into high school, by the time I was graduating, I realized like I want to go to Hollywood. I want to go to California, be the next Steven Spielberg, and start directing movies. And so I applied to film school. But there was another challenge: is they rejected me. They said no. And so I decided, you know what? I've heard a lot of people talk about no and failure and that you have to keep failing. So I'm just going to go down to Los Angeles. So I still flew to Los Angeles. I like how chat thinks I'm literally flying. But I went to the film school, and I just decided to try something out, which is, what if you go in the back of the class and sit there? And so that's me in the back of the class. I don't know why it made me look so creepy, but I'm sitting in the back of the class, and the teachers never asked a question. I still paid the tuition, and they were letting me in the film classes, so that was pretty awesome. But there was another problem. And you guys remember that kid who was really sad because he had no money to buy film gear? He had no money to pay for the next year of tuition because his parents told him, hey, you're going to be on your own and have to cover the next semester. So now I'm basically an adult who has no money, who's really sad because I have no way to pay for film school. So I come up with every possible version of what I wanted to do, and I thought, like, okay, there's this new thing called YouTube. It was just like 3 years old, and I logged on, but there was no way to like, they had AdSense now where you can make money, and that's kind of what being a content creator is now. That wasn't in existence. That wasn't even like an idea at the time. You just went on YouTube and posted stuff because you thought it was cool and built a little community around it who subscribed to your channel and liked the same kind of work that you were doing. So I started doing that. But then I added a twist, which is, hey, if you like what I'm doing, I can have these DVD training courses for you. So I started the YouTube channel that taught filmmaking and editing in Final Cut Pro and a bunch of different editing softwares. Does anyone use Final Cut 10 anymore? Is that a thing? Yeah, I didn't think so. Everyone's on like Adobe now. But it was the Wild West. And so there I was shipping these kind of DVD courses out of my dorm room and selling them and paying for my tuition. So I was rolling in the dough figuratively. But you fast forward, I get the degree from film school, I graduate, and YouTube was in a spot where it was starting to make a little money, but at the time, I mean, you got to remember, I'm making like $1,000 a month on AdSense, so it's not going to be like a big career, and I really had no idea the direction that it was going to be going. To put it in context, I don't know if many of you guys in the room probably do remember like Vimeo, AOL Video, Yahoo Video. I was actually like really big on all of those platforms, Dailymotion, more, and then YouTube wasn't even the front runner at the time. You were kind of trying everything that had a video player. So I go on this road trip, and I'm making all these, YouTube videos, going around the country doing 10,000 miles from LA all the way over to Washington, D.C., and I get a really interesting lunch with someone at the Discovery Channel, and they're like, hey, do you want to be a producer on the team? We have a $100,000 a year salary. And you remember that sad kid who is always wanting money? Well, he is like really excited now. So I end up going to this interview back in LA at the other headquarters for Discovery Channel, and I'm really excited because this is like a big corporate job. I'm going to be able to like tell my parents, hey, film school, that paid off, and now I'm producing these TV shows with Discovery. And an interesting thing happened. I'm in the interview with the person in my last interview, and he kind of does, I don't know if you guys have done the interviews where the last questions, I was like, do you have any questions for us? And I kind of weirdly laid it all out there. I was like, yeah, what would you do if you were me? And I explained that I had a YouTube channel that's maybe 200,000 subscribers and, $1,000 a month. And he actually looked at me. Maybe he didn't want to hire me, but he was like, I actually don't think you should take the job. I think you should maybe experiment because you're in college or you're right out of college. You have no big risks that are, you don't have a family that if this fails, they're all going to die and be hungry. So he was like, just try it. Try it for a year and then come back. Discovery will always be here for a long time. And so I decided that day to go back to my garage that I was working out of and living out of in LA and just keep making my YouTube channel. And so I drove home and kind of never looked back because a few months later, I'm seeing all my roommates in the bathroom watching Vines over and over for hours and hours. And I'm like, what are you guys watching in there? And they're like, oh, this new app just came out, 6 seconds long, kind of loops. It's really fun. And here I am thinking, my YouTube videos take 3 months to make, these crazy 10-minute visual effects videos. I don't know how long your guys' videos take, but you understand like the grind of making one YouTube video just takes so long to get it perfect. And here's someone saying like I can make a 6-second video. So I immediately start doing that, and I'm like, I'm cranking them out like 3 a day because the 6 seconds is nothing for me at the time. So that was one of the big lucky breaks that I have that really blew me up. But I wanted to take a second and talk about the process of, what you guys can probably relate to. For me, this is the steps that we do, and it's really pretty simple. It makes sense, but I hope there's some cool takeaways for you guys throughout this process. So on my team, we go through, to give you a little context, my team is about 25 people that are full-time. Then we work with a bunch of subcontractors additionally to make up our crews, but we always start with ideation. Then we go through this phase called the mock-ups. Then we go into production and post-production. So ideation, this is one of my favorite parts of the process. And I know as you guys are different level creators in the room, you probably have noticed as you've been creating for a few years, there's the little sections that you love doing. Like maybe you love editing and you love, finessing the edit or adding music or seeing that come together. Or maybe you're on the front end and you love coming up with the concept. But that's kind of where I live with my team. On Mondays, we do the writing, and we do a couple different ways of writing. So have you guys all been in a brainstorm where, show of hands, like how many of you walked into a brainstorm and then come out kind of defeated because your idea just got shot down? Does that resonate with anybody? Yeah, I've had that happen so many times where you walk in, you feel like you have a cool idea to offer, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, it's like a shotgun. They throw it up and they like shoot your idea down immediately with like some no or some reason it's not possible with production, schedule, timeline, budget, whatever. And it's really defeating. So we do this process, which is more of a brain dump. Basically, I think there's a lot of pressure on the front end where everyone's like, you have to have your best ideas out of the gate, right? But I think that's totally backwards. Obviously, you're never going to have a fully baked idea. Maybe once in a while you hear those stories where someone, thought of the Tesla and they just made it. But it's pretty rare. I think they all start with average or below average ideas. So in our data dump or brain dump, we're just trying to come up with like 50 to 100 ideas. The goal is a massive amount of quantity, not a quality at this point. So we'll throw out like a different prompt, what's a magical transformation or whatever, and we don't really think. We just write them, go out. It doesn't matter. We're not saying, oh, that's a good one, or that's a bad one. We're writing them. Then these little blue things here are pulses. So everyone that was in that brainstorm, looks like there's probably 6 people. Everyone gets 1 vote. And it's not a popularity contest. It's not like whose idea should we vote for. It's what's the best idea that if we spent time developing this that we'd want to see come to life. Which one kind of feels like it could be the most unique. And what's interesting about the pulse is if you have 4 to 5 people in the room, you will all come generally to a similar conclusion of like, there's something about this one that everyone continues to talk about. And these are what our little pulses look like. And you can see that concept that day was about doing an underwater scuba transformation, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then the other part of our writing process is this T-sheet concept. So we have the brainstorms, which is more like dumping a bunch of stuff at once. And this is more about refining specific ideas. And we use this technique when we're pitching. So the reason it's called a T-sheet is pretty simple. There's a T there. The top has a title. And then the left side, I'm curious if this is accurate with the stats. 35% of people are more verbal learners, which you guys just immediately, when this popped up, read that left side. On the right side is the image, and I think that's about 65 to 70% of people are the visual learners who immediately you look at that and you start trying to figure out what the image is there. But basically, we're describing and then we're showing. And I'll give you a few examples, and I'll walk you through the process of how we actually made this specific video. What's interesting is on Mondays when we do these T-sheets, you can pitch whatever you want. And so this person, look, we put the name up in the corner just so if we have a question about it later, because these live in the studio archives, we'll be able to go to that person and say, what did you mean? Elaborate on whatever. I won't read the concept, but basically they want to do like a Dungeons and Dragons thing. And this idea came up maybe 2.5 years ago. You could read the concept, but it doesn't really matter because someone pitched it like a year later, but a totally different version of a concept. I don't even think they knew we had another Dungeons and Dragons pitch. And then 6 months after that, someone else, Nick on the team, has another Dungeons and Dragons kind of themed board game thing. But none of them really took off. And one of the reasons we were wondering, like, what was this idea missing for 2 years that it didn't get made? Kind of like 2 obvious light bulb moments went off. And the reason I share this is because you might have ideas that have continued to come back in different ways and iterations. And it's okay to keep putting those out there. It means there's maybe something there, not quite yet. And then one day the dots will connect. And these were the 2 dots that connected for us. One, I don't know if you guys play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't, but a lot of people on my team do. And they were like, hey, there's this YouTube channel called Critical Role. And they make Dungeons and Dragons videos. They're really popular. And so that was like a light bulb moment that, okay, it should be a collaboration with them. They should be in the video. And also, I was searching late one night for my kid's birthday. There's this awesome company in China that makes these dragon costumes. And that all of a sudden was like, duh, if it's done, we should have a dragon in the video. So let's do something with these. So we commissioned them to start building it. And then we figured out that, this dragon costume is really crazy. Inside, there's a dude like, doing all this stuff. But I want to show you into the next part of the video, the mock-up, using the same concept. So for us, the mock-up, we ask a crazy idea, which is, can we preview this idea in 1 hour? And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but our goal is like grab an iPhone and shoot in the living room what the concept is and just kind of walk rough idea of what it is. So this is a version of our
party is blocked by the red dragon.
Whoa, dude, that's a sick model.
And the audio doesn't really matter here. It essentially goes over the camera angle. We show this to our visual effects team, how we plan on doing it. You can see I was going to drop the dragon there. This is him playing multiple players.
Nice dragon.
And I won't play all of it there. And then this gets to the final video that we shot. Now, you're going to watch it. This is like what our videos look like with no editing. So this is very janky and no sound design. But I'll give you a sneak peek of what we go from mock-up to...
You descend the charred stone stairs right into the lair of Tyrannox the dragon.
That is the coolest model.
No, Zach, don't touch it. Don't.
Retain them. Like, can you make a music instrument, a lute, or
Okay, we won't go through all that, but and the mock-up phase, I can't iterate how important this is. I'm going to give you another example. When we do anything that's like a short film, we are not ever doing storyboards. We don't find it super effective because we have so much complicated VFX and tricks that have to happen with specific blocking. So we do stuff like this.
Online.
Okay, next.
Oh, yep.
Right this way.
Wish me luck.
You're reading for wizard number 3.
Coming to an end. If only I could harness the...
Mr. Levi, I forgot to mention back there, but along with the acting, I come with...
You get the idea. We just are super specific over the angles. And the beautiful thing about that, we kind of treat it more like an animation process where we're getting to watch the iterations come to life as we go and also just see, is this even interesting anymore? Is this worth making? Should we switch it up drastically? I feel like in a script format, it's really hard for everyone to imagine different things. We're trying to come to the same vision as quickly as possible. Then we get into post-production. You guys are all familiar. It's just hours and hours of editing. For me, I love the editing process. This is one of the best parts. So I'll give you a little sneak peek of like, this is the raw take that we'll get out of the camera, and then I'll take you through the process that we're working for as we go through the video. This is a collab we did with Josh Harmon, and if you recognize him, he's known for doing sound effects along with a video paired there. And the concept we're doing is that my video has actually been there the entire time that we're going to reveal. We're bringing this dinosaur to life, which you don't see yet. It's going to come through the wall.
Go! Oh my God.
So that's the concept. But what we have to do now, after we've shot that, is figure out, okay, what does this dinosaur look like? And to quickly take you through what we're thinking about, it's like all the different designs that we could do for the dinosaur. We look at them all, and then we go, like, it'd be kind of fun if it felt like it was drawn in Snapchat. So we came up with this design, and then when we implement that in there, that's kind of us figuring out, like, is this going to be a lightly shaded thing? How in depth are we going to go? What's the size? I don't know if you guys think about this, but when you're making your videos, like little nuances of like on the left side is a bigger dinosaur, but you might have UI covering some of that real estate. So maybe you shrink it down. But then we finally get to this stage of the VFX, still rough, no sound effects, just kind of seeing if the blocking works. If you guys haven't ever seen Josh Harmon's videos, they're really cool. You should check them out later.
Go! Oh my God.
So that's kind of how that starts to come alive. But then you have the other fun part of like sound design. And so this is like what our videos will sound like, pretty much raw. Sometimes I'm mic, sometimes I'm not, but it sounds pretty bad. It's just blank. Like you'll hear a few sound effects added in for the car. Nothing crazy, and then we'll do a little passive like ADR.
Please take one candy. A happy Halloween. Hey, he's taking the candy. Hey, come back. Hey, you.
But then you can see it's still, like, to me, still lacking a lot of energy. So we bring in our composer to do like a Mario sound-alike score so we don't get copyright
Please
strike.
take one candy. A happy Halloween. Hey, he's taking the candy. Hey, come back. Hey, you. Woohoo!
So that's how the sound design really like can bring something that feels slow and like needs energy totally to life. I'll show you another quick process of the mock-up. Basically, when we do these concepts, the mock-up when you guys are doing it should not have pressure to look good. This is like an example of like I'm going underwater and my room's flooding, and then the producer's telling us that like the Alexa is gonna pop up here. This is a project I think we did for Amazon a little bit ago. And then, to bring that idea to life, you just have to think of other ways to do it. Like in that concept, we had to figure out how to flood a room, but we figured out it's actually the opposite. You just need to sink a room so that you give the illusion that it's flooding. And then I'll show you actually, I think there's a little behind the scenes.
Today we're flooding a room, and to pull off that trick, we're gonna sink a set.
Okay, I think I'm going to skip through here because we got a lot to talk about. What I want to talk to you is what I promised in the beginning, the shortcuts. Who wants some shortcuts? Okay, then great, we'll do them. Again, we're back here to these shortcuts, which are kind of logical when you think about them. The first one is don't take no at face value. So for me, this is back in the story when Biola University said, no, you can't come here. I decided, like, what if I did? What if I followed that curiosity and see what happens? And for me and now the team, when we get a lot of no's, this is the checklist that we go through. It's like, is it the idea? Is that the problem? Do we need to rework that? Is it the timing of the idea? Is it who we pitched it to? Or is it how we pitched it incorrectly? We found a lot of times it's really just about the communication and getting people on the same vision of the right idea. Maybe you pitched it great in your head, but they were totally thinking of something different. So it's figured out how you can do that. And again, with no, we also figured out, have you guys seen that YouTube video where you can bring a ladder into any sporting event or any event in the world by putting on a construction vest and a ladder? That's kind of how we think about it. Like, if you just get in the right context, you usually can switch that no to like a maybe or a possible yes. Another rule is curiosity kills the cat, but the cat technically has 9 rules. And what I mean here is there's a lot of questions about, in my story, I wonder if I could make Final Cut Pro tutorials. And then you follow it up. Like, I wonder if people would actually watch them. I wonder if I could build an email list from them and start that to make money to pay for my school. I wonder if people would buy the training course and blah, blah, blah. I wonder if I could fulfill this in my room. You just have to continue to ask these questions of curiosity. This is a huge one. If you guys work alone like I did for many, many years, that's awesome. But I really recommend you find your collaborators. This is one of my best friends, Aaron. He was early on in my YouTube days that we had a rule that I heard once from Terry Crews on a podcast. And he said, whenever I learn something that's new and impactful to me, I tell you, and then I just ask that you do the same for me. So that's the relationship that me and Aaron have, and now a lot of my collaborators and I have. If you learn something cool and new about the YouTube space, just share it with me, and then I'll tell you what I've been working on that's new. I worked alone for so many years that I didn't realize how impactful having a team and getting collaborators and people around you on the same mission could really be. There's this quote that's a famous African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And I still try to remember that as my tendency can go like, oh, I can just do this faster by myself. Let me move over. Let me edit this. But now I get to work with an amazing team that helps me go way faster. I think there's a lot of ways you can steal from others to pay for your education. Here's what I mean. If you're trying to learn filmmaking like I did, AKA get a job within your field of expertise. I did weddings. I edited people's videos. I went to red carpet premieres to do photos. I worked as a journalist. I was in the background of a bunch of TV shows, especially a prison TV show. That was me right there. Another spot is looking for magic. You're going to have a bunch of areas in your time, and I think this might be the most important. This is maybe why you're here at this crypto conference, is maybe that's the magic. But there's several times in your life you're going to find these little waves and peaks of like, oh, that's something different. For me, kind of the realization that the iPhone came out when I was in high school. I was just a senior in high school. And I remember the feeling of magic. And every time you had an iPhone, everyone would come around and be like, whoa, what is it? Can I feel like what that's like to not have buttons? And that was a moment of magic. And you can see where it led now with the development of like video. Another one was YouTube for me. Like that was a huge one. Nobody was on it doing tutorials for Final Cut Pro. Now there's tons of channels that do that. So you're just looking for those areas of magic. And I think one of the last main things I'd love to talk about, which is probably the most important for you guys as creators, is to develop your signature. And so you guys might guess who painted this. You would maybe guess Picasso. And that's not a Picasso, but it shows that he had a distinct style that many people can quickly resonate with. So these are some of mine that I look for that we think of as my signature in our work. And I'll go through a few of them. We like to set up an expectation and then break it. So,
can anyone explain to me, how does the mirror know that there's an egg behind the paper? I mean, does that
how
make
does
any
the mirror
sense,
know?
Oh, it's because there actually is an egg
So
behind
the expectation
the
is there's a mirror there, but we really just
Right?
built a duplicate set. We think that a surprise should be pleasant and should be logical. So take this video, for example.
Whoa, what's going on? Whoa, too high! Too high!
The logic is if you eat helium, you'll float, and therefore that will happen. But there's a fun twist that we actually pay that off. The character sees the world as the camera sees it. This is a fun little concept
Where's
that I did with my kids.
Down here.
Oh, what's it doing down there?
It's like obviously a character would never behave this way in real life.
Come on, let's go outside. Follow me. Make some way for
But
me.
because the camera sees the world that way, that's how the audience can pay it off. Another example of this.
Think I can fit in that spot?
It's pretty tight.
Oh, I try.
No,
Any of you
Zach,
have parking
it's really
problems?
not.
You could do this
No,
little
Zach,
hack.
stop. Yo, what? How did you do that? It worked.
Another
That's the
example
best
that it's
parallel
all
parking I've
about,
ever-
the perspective of the camera. I love the humor of Buster Keaton and the physicality that he would have. So we play with some of that. We love to think that Zach, kind of like Charlie Chaplin back in the day, he's the everyman, he's the everyday person, he's ordinary, but there's just a twist of something extraordinary. So here we have me
Guys,
just being a dad,
Let me help you clean this
trying to clean up their Legos, but when you step on it just right, it'll actually turn you into a Lego brick. Irreverence. We like to make videos that ideally want to get through a branded department. You can see here, you should never fall asleep in church, technically.
As no yeast was on the table when Jesus met with his disciples.
And then, if a frame is worth 1,000 words, we want every frame to count, starting with the opening frame. You see somebody on a broomstick, all the way to the ending frame.
Like my costume?
Yo, that's so cool. How are you doing that?
Got a Nimbus 2000.
Oh, I see.
Mirror.
Wait, is that my longboard?
Longboardium Leviosa!
Zach, my longboard! Come on, man, get back here! Dude, not cool.
We also think that you should do it for real whenever possible. This is a recent video we just posted. A lot of comments were saying, that's so fake, I see the CGI. But I can show you that we did this one for real. And it was super sketchy. Don't wait for inspiration. I used to work for so long waiting for inspiration to strike. I would just wait around for the ideas to come and then go shoot them. And then I figured out it's a process. Once I got a team, I realized that we're not just sitting around 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We have to make stuff and continue to build a schedule to make stuff. So a quick schedule that we do, it's very simple. But I think people overthink it sometimes. Monday's our writing day. Tuesday, we refine that concept. Wednesday, we prep it. And Thursday, we shoot. And then Friday, we wrap and then get ready to repeat over and over. And again, we're doing this with 5 or 6 different producers every week. So it is a lot of projects, but it's kind of a simple layout. And I think whatever your guys' schedule, you just got to get it on paper so that everybody knows what the goal is. And the last few here, I think you should gamble often. Increase your surface area of luck, if you will. And if you do those things, what I talked about earlier, getting a collaborator, maybe staying on the side of innovation, following your curiosity, all those are things that pay off increasing the surface area of your luck, because I would never want to stand up here and tell you that it wasn't luck. Like, I had many moments of lucky breaks, but it was because I was doing a few of those. And the last thing is, in case some of you make it really big and need to give keynotes, continue to take photos of your life so you don't have to make them out of AI for people. So now I'm taking photos of my family. The last little bit is, you guys are all creators, and I don't know at what stage, but I remember in the beginning, and I hope you keep this your whole life, in the beginning, you just want to wake up and make stuff, and it's so fun, and you post it, and you have an audience starting to grow, and I hope you never lose that. I love this quote that Picasso had. Every child is an artist, and the problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. So thank you guys for listening, and yeah, thank you.